Fowler.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, as we gather today, I reflect on the year that has passed since I first called for a significant redesign of the Stage 3 tax cuts. It is with a sense of vindication that I note the government's consideration of this narrative in their proposed legislation. Moreover, it is encouraging to witness the government finally taking seriously the cost of living crisis, an issue that hits close to home for many Australians, including those within my electorate of Fowler. The stark reality of the cost of living crisis is being felt by working Australians both day and night. They are confronted with rising rents, record petrol prices, soaring food costs and insurance premiums that are nothing short of unbelievable, not to mention the 13 interest rate rise that we've endured. This level of financial strain and pain is unprecedented in recent memory, underscoring the disappointment in the government's delayed response to amend Stage 3 tax cuts. This was a golden opportunity to extend a helping hand to ordinary Australians, an opportunity that has been evident since the inception of this government 21 months ago. Deputy Speaker, it begs the question, why did it take the government so long to act? And why did it fall upon a small backbencher like myself, representing the resilient community of Fowler, to highlight the pressing need for more immediate support for working-class Australians? The need is palpable in my electorate, where a significant portion of working families fall within the low to middle income bracket, making them the most vulnerable to our ongoing cost of living crisis. Deputy Speaker, the bill in question aims to reform, relive and support a broader swath of Australians, with a commendable 84% of taxpayers poised to receive a more significant tax cut. Specifically, individuals earning under $45,000 are set to benefit from a tax rate reduction from 19% to 16%. At face value, this revision offers some relief to low-income earners, a move that should indeed be welcomed. However, while the government's revised plans are a step in the right direction, they are not without their flaws. The Grattan Institute has voiced concerns about bracket creep, potentially diminishing the value of the tax cuts over time, given that Australians' tax scales are, quote-unquote, not indexed to accommodate, quote, wage growth or inflation, unquote. This highlights the need for a more comprehensive approach to tax reform, one that lessens the burden on the income tax of working Australians and addresses the inequality of current system. The devastating impact of COVID-19 pandemic on jobs, small businesses, housing affordability, food security, household energy and general well-being of Australians is still acutely felt in my community of Fowler and undoubtedly in other parts of Western Sydney and Australia. My commitment has been unwavering in pushing the government to introduce policies that genuinely alleviate and support our people. Time and time again, I have stood up in this chamber to raise the alarm about the cost of living crisis to the government, sharing the heartfelt experiences of my constituents, which were often met with insufficient consideration. Even the new tax cut offers minimal relief to my community in Fowler, which continues to grapple with the spiralling increases in the cost of essentials. Deputy Speaker, we need to implement measures that will make a tangible difference in addressing the cost of living crisis now. The amendments to the Stage 3 tax cuts are a step in the right direction, but they fall short. The average benefit of $15 a week does not cover the wide array of increases we have endured. Why, Deputy Speaker, have insurance premiums risen significantly more than inflation? Why is petrol excise relief not being considered? Who is profiteering and what is the government doing to address it? Despite a significant drop in the wholesale electricity prices, ordinary Australians are yet to see a reduction in their electricity bills. These are all areas where the government could and should take immediate action. Deputy Speaker, allow me to bring specific examples from my electorate of Fowler, which is among the most disadvantaged and comprises of some of the lowest income earners. According to the 2021 census, the median weekly wage of individuals within Fowler is $521 a week, equating to an annual income of $27,092. Under the proposed bill, this translates to an annual tax cut of merely $267 or a meagre $5 per week for each individual. This amount is insufficient to alleviate the financial pressures faced by my constituents. Several constituents have shared their cost of living struggles with me, which I want to bring to your attention. One constituent with a low salary entry-level job struggles with the expense of taking public transport to work and job interviews. With many of my constituents having to commute outside the electorate for work by car, the cost of petrol adds up. I have previously called on the government, and again today asked the question, to do more about petrol prices, which is impacting low to middle income households' ability to travel for work. I have asked for a fuel excise cut so that hard-working Australians are not being penalised for making a living and providing for their family. The government has demonstrated that they are willing to listen in their adjustments of the Stage 3 tax cuts. So why aren't they willing and listen in applying the same approach to fuel excise when the government is actually reaping almost $20 billion from it? So therefore, an excise fuel tax cut right now is really in need to help our community. Another of my constituents in Bonnyrigg attended our office, visibly upset, and shared that she cannot afford to pay her electricity bill and asked for any support that we could provide. The Australian Energy Regulator has highlighted in their latest wholesale markets quarterly report that the average annual wholesale electricity prices in the national electricity market have dropped between 44% and 66%. I understand that there are no current plans to cascade the drop to energy retailers immediately, but it's critical to pass on the lower wholesale energy prices fast. I ask the government to consider what measures can be taken so that there is further energy cost relief for Australians. Amongst those suffering from the cost of living crisis are individuals who have pursued tertiary education and cannot keep up with the aftermath of their student debt. For those who have completed tertiary education, they are locked into their HECS repayments, and these tax cuts are of little benefit. According to a 9 News article, a survey conducted by Think Forward with 1,000 millennials and Gen Z on their views of the Australian tax system revealed that 90% is of the view that the government was not doing enough to support them. A constituent from Fairfield East shared that she followed the traditional pathway of studying hard in university and finding a job, but struggled to pay off her $60,000 HECS debt due to the 7.1% indexation and a good portion of her salary going to income tax. These are just some examples of the impact of the cost of living on my constituencies. There are over 38,000 students in Fowler, with 20% at university and 21% of hopeful high school students who may eventually attend. They will join the workforce at an entry-level role. How do you expect them to survive? HECS indexation is determined by CPI, and it may increase again to keep up with the cost of living. I call on the government to consider freezing the HECS indexation now, so that it allows students and tertiary graduates a breathing room. I have said repeatedly, young people are our future, and good policy must be formulated to support them. This is not too much to ask from the decision-makers in this room and in this House, many of whom enjoyed free university degrees in their time. Income tax is a sensitive matter to my constituents, as they are directly affected by surrounding issues of cost of living and affordability. I have joined with the member for Wentworth to call on the government to be bold and look at reforming our tax system. Currently, it's the ordinary working Australians, the majority of low income, middle income, through the PAYE system, who seem to be carrying the weight of this country by paying the most taxes. As an Australian, there is a duty for them to pay tax to continue the running of the economy, but this should not be at the expense of being able to provide for their family or furthering their education. For low-income earners, who are often the sole breadwinner of their families, it's harder, as they must ensure they distribute their income towards rent, food and their children. It is a paycheck-to-paycheck exercise. I ask the government to put two hats on, a short-term and a long-term one. In the 2021-2022 financial year, low to middle income earners, being $48,000 to $90,000, were afforded a $1,500 tax offset. I understand that this was a temporary measure. However, the feedback that I received from my electorate was that it was very welcome relief during trying times. The extra money back in their pockets allowed them to allocate funds for varying needs of their families. If this is within the boundaries of the government's budget plan, I ask the government to consider a similar tax offset again as a short-term relief. If the former Morrison government was able to provide this short-term relief for low to middle income earners, as well as the petrol relief, surely a Labor Albanese government, the party of the, quote, working people, unquote, can match it or do better. Tax policy is daunting, but we need to rethink the system. We need a fairer and simpler system. I call on the government to be bold, courageous and tackle the tax system that's overdue for a rethink. There are plenty of tax specialists and economic experts who I have no doubt would be able to provide the government with ideas and policies that can help tackle the pain points of the cost of living crisis. This can be a way forward. The time for action is now, Deputy Speaker, and we cannot afford to delay in providing more support and relief that working Australians so desperately need. They cannot be left behind and be forgotten because they are the backbone of our country and economy. Thank you.